Welcome to the Resilient Minds podcast, stories of grit, growth, and success, where we dive deep into the journey of successful leaders who've struggled and succeeded. Before the wins, before the titles, what was the mindset behind the leader? On this show, we focus on real stories behind the success, the struggles, the resilience, and the courage it takes to keep moving forward, even when times get tough. My goal is to provide you with stories of hope and transformation, showing that no matter the challenges, there is a way forward. On this show, we'll be meeting with highly successful leaders who've battled through obstacles, emerging stronger and wiser on the other side. This show is for anyone who wants to grow, evolve, and find the light at the end of the tunnel. Everyone's a leader, so together, we'll uncover what it truly means to evolve as leaders, and ultimately, as human beings. This is Resilient Minds. Hey, I'm your host, and I'm Dr. Campbell. I'm here with Randy Gage, and he is a New York Times best-selling author. He is in the Speaker Hall of Fame, but he's also an entrepreneur whisperer. But I also saw on his branding, and I had to ask questions about this, it says teaching money game mastery. Now, that really caught my attention, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners would love to know. Randy, thank you so much for your time, but please tell us what that means.
Hey, Jacqueline, great to be on with you. Well, what it means to me is I think making money is, I think we all play games.
Hmm.
If you want your kids to eat broccoli, there's a game you got to play. If you want to find your ideal soulmate, you got to play the dating game. If you want to take your company public and become a deca billionaire, there's a game you got to play. I think most people don't mindfully choose the games they want to play
Right.
or even recognize that they're playing a game. And that's where the money game comes into this scenario because there is a host of institutions, banks, credit card agencies, financial pundits, financial planners, blogosphere, podcast sphere, everything uh, dedicated to keeping you broke,
Right.
keeping you needy.
Right.
The most dangerous thing to a government or even a charitable organization, a church, whatever, is a fully actualized person who's
Right.
healthy, happy, and prosperous.
Yep. They have opinions.
So, yeah, so my books and my work is about prosperity, how you manifest a life of true prosperity, meaning health, happiness, mental harmony, and the money and material things.
Right.
And when we get to the money and material things, you have to recognize there is a game. There's mortgage brokers have a game to get you locked into a 30-year mortgage where you're paying $2,000 in a month in a mortgage, and $100 of that is going to the principal, and $1,900 of it is going to the interest. And credit card companies have a game to say, well, you missed that payment. You were 2 days late. So we have a clause in the 30,000 word policies and procedures that you signed when you clicked to apply that says we can raise your interest rate to 30%. And now, and we're such nice people that we're just going to send you a statement every month that there's a minimum balance. And as long as you pay the minimum balance, we're such nice people, we just want to help you.
Right.
And you will, if you pay the minimum balance on most credit cards, it's about 41 years to
Hmm.
pay it off. So you buy $100,000 house and you pay $280,000 worth of interest.
Yeah.
Or you have the same, so you got your car upside down, and that nice car dealership is going to take it in and finance the difference and let you drive out today in a new car. Again, because they're such nice people and they love you so much and want to help you. And then you're paying 10 times interest on that because you're paying interest on your interest on your interest.
Yep.
That's a game. And you have to learn the rules of the money game. You have to learn how to play it to win it.
Right. And this is what you do with entrepreneurs too, right?
Yeah, because entrepreneurs, for when entrepreneurs are coming to me, well, there's a couple of things, but so I actually have a call it a mastermind group slash coaching program slash accelerator program, right? It's called
Right.
Breakthrough You, something I've been doing off and on since 2005.
Mhm.
And we just started a new cohort this month, literally, as you and I are talking. We just started a new one. And for a lot of people, I'm helping them scale their business.
Mhm.
How do you take your business, which is doing $800,000 a year, and how do you turn it into a 10 million or $20 million a year business? Or you're a kind of a hardworking entrepreneur, but you just can't break the $1 million barrier if your personal income. How do we break through that? And then I get high level income earners who frankly, they have the money thing out of the way. They come to me because they fly private, they've got a beautiful home, they have a beach for home, they have a ski lodge, they have a beach cottage, they've got all the watches and the cars and the bling bling, but their kids don't talk to them,
Yeah.
or their marriage is in tatters, or they're doing great except they're one Big Mac away from a diabetic coma.
Right.
So they need the other aspects of prosperity to,
Mhm.
so what I'm doing is I'm helping entrepreneurs live in an abundant life,
Right.
right? So here's a resource for your listeners, viewers, anyone watching. If you go to my website, randygage.com, right on the homepage, there's a free PDF,
Mhm.
7 elements of an abundant life. So I would love to give that to anyone watching right now. And it kind of scopes out like this is what an abundant life should look like: the money and material things, the physical health, the mental harmony,
Mm.
and the contribution, the sense of significance.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad that you said that because in my work I find getting over the self, it's like you're needing to recover from the ego or the programmed self of you to be able to really have that thriving life in all of your areas. And so you probably see a lot of these, whether it be traumas or wounds or attachment issues, personal limitations that are complete lies. They're stories that we tell ourselves and then we get caught up in it. We believe that it's true. And so we don't think that we can change our reality, but it takes so much work to actually address them, work through them, and then not give in to them again, right? Do you see a lot of that in your work?
I think a lot of my clients in the coaching program come to me for that, whether it's consciously, but many times subconsciously, because I'm the only person they've met who will tell them the truth.
Right.
They're surrounded with people who give them permission to stay the way they are.
Right.
If you're a billionaire, and I've worked with a number of billionaires, right? If you're a billionaire right now, the biggest need you probably have in your business is to have somebody who will tell you when your stupid idea is stupid.
That's
Because
well
they don't
stated.
have anyone. Because if you're around Elon Musk, you're not going to tell him his idea is stupid because you're going to be fired 3 seconds after the words come out of your mouth. There's a lot of high success, and same thing for athletic superstars and classical opera divas, any field,
Yep.
culture, music, sports, politics, business, the same. You can get to a level of success where you're just getting high on your own supply and you don't have anyone around you to say, whoa, 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 whoa.
Mhm.
You're getting a little full of yourself here. Let's pull back a little. Let's
Right.
go up to 30,000 feet, be a little strategic here.
Mhm.
Let's check the ego at the door and let's look at this objectively.
Awesome.
And that's, I think, I know I have to do that a lot for the people I work with. And like I say, I think some of them know that consciously. And because they'll tell me that when they join, they'll say, "You're the only straight talking guy I've seen who just you'll call me on my bullshit." And that's what I need. I need somebody who will call me on my bullshit. And other people, I think it's subconscious. They couldn't necessarily articulate it,
Mm.
but they're gravitated to my work. Because if you read my book or any of my books, or if you read my blog, this guy is not politically correct. He's not pandering to me. He's not going to tell me what I want to hear.
Yeah.
He's going to speak his truth as he knows it. Maybe he's brilliant, mad genius. Maybe he's totally full of shit and he's a delusional lunatic. But whatever he is, he's going to speak his truth.
Right. Well, in that respect, you build a whole other level of trust because when people have money, right, they tend to, society actually equates money with power. And so when you have a lot of power, you have a lot of scared people, and scared people will go fake very, very quickly because they want you to like them. And so when you have somebody who's not scared to piss you off and is okay with you getting hurt feelings, not intentionally, that's not the intention. The intention is to build trust, and the only way to build real trust is with real connection, meaning there has to be authenticity and honesty. Sometimes the truth hurts.
Oh, yeah. Like I just sent book number 16 to my publisher for the final run through. And I've got about 6 or 7 people that I am fortunate enough that I can send a galley proof to and say, "Hey, will you read this and give me feedback?" And they will give back and they will say, "Oh my God, this chapter 5, you're just ranting like a lunatic. What do you hate? All religions and God, and you're so strident and opinionated. You're just insulting people to insult them. Dial it back." That's the most valuable feedback you can get in the world. Or,
Absolutely.
the my friend Alan Weiss, who's another author, but there was like this book. He's one of the people that I trust to give me just brutal, honest feedback, and he'll say, "I think you're being a tad indulgent here," or here, you're being too timid here. Just go out. I've heard you rant and rave on this. I know you got really strong opinion on this. Go ahead and, unleash it here. This is a good spot for the reader to get that message. That's what we all need. We need it in love, relationships, business. We need at least a couple of people in our life that will tell us the truth.
Absolutely. So when
And
it,
the other thing, it's really important, and I know you're aware of this, but for anybody listening, it's also important you find people who are going to tell you the truth, who want your highest good in
right,
mind.
absolutely,
Not because they're telling you the truth, because they're bitter and jealous
right.
and petty and they want to bring you down. You don't need that at all. There's plenty of people the world has provided who will criticize you for the sake of criticizing you. You don't need that. What you need is someone who has your highest good in mind, and they will give you feedback in that context.
Absolutely, because they truly want you to win. And with those types of relationships, people end up leveling up together because the whole group is leveling up because there's just truth and honesty, and you can't hide from, your demons, and you get to grow so much. But at the same time, like we were talking about a little bit ago, it is hard to address those things, right? So specifically with yourself, has there ever been a time where somebody called something out in you that you didn't see before? Or maybe you did see, but it was embarrassing that it was still there, that you had no choice, but you had to address it.
Oh, me? No, never. I'm perfect.
Me neither.
You know where I really got this and got to see the value of it is I went into therapy, because started as relationship therapy, and then I was continuing myself after the relationship ended. And the therapist told me, hey, we need to get you into group therapy. It's like, group therapy? Why do I need to be in group therapy? He said, because at some point you're going to be able to bullshit me, and I'm not going to be able to see through your bullshit. But if you're in a group, whatever racket you're trying to run on me, there will be somebody in the group who will recognize that racket and they'll call you on it. And I fought that tooth and nail for a long time. So, but he kept pushing back, to his credit, and then finally I agreed to do the group therapy. And it was exactly as he said, because why do you hate Jimmy? You hate Jimmy because there's something about him that you see in yourself that you hate in yourself, right? Psychologists have shown this over and over again, and how we project things, right? So that's what would happen. We would have these therapy sessions, and there was like 7 or 8 of us, and somebody would say something, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, you are so such and such," and do you realize what you're doing? And I would just unload on them, and then I'd look, and everybody's looking at me like, "What are you looking at me?" And they're like, "We can't believe you said that, because that's exactly what you do."
Mm.
Like, me? What are you talking? We're talking about her. Why are you bringing up me? No, Randy, that's exact. You are projecting on her exactly your issues. And well, when you get that feedback enough, you recognize, oh, okay, maybe there's something there. Maybe there is some value of that. And so, and I've just learned, like, because understand this, I'm a high school dropout, but most people would think I'm a PhD psychologist because of my understanding of human behavior.
Right.
Now, why do I have this incredible understanding of human behavior? Because I'm a marketer. That's what we do in marketing, is we look at, why do humans respond the way they respond?
Mhm.
And I've always had an interest in it. I read the book Sybil when I was like 13 years old, and which is a book about a lady who had like 18 different personalities and schizophrenia, and I was fascinated by it. And I subscribed to Psychology Today magazine when I was like 14 years old and all through my teen years. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's funny. I have a buddy who's his mother is a psychologist, and he brought her to a seminar I was giving. And so they're in the audience, and I'm down on stage and I'm talking, and she says to him, "You never told me Randy's a psychologist." She's like, "No, he's not a psychologist." "Yes, he is." "Mom, he's not a psychologist." "Yes, I can tell he's a psychologist." He said, "Mom, he's a high school dropout. It's impossible. He's not a psychologist." And she's saying, "You see how he said just that? You notice how he said this? Only a trained psychologist would know that stuff." But of course, I'm not a trained psychologist. I'm a very brilliant marketer.
Right.
And being a brilliant marketer is, what motivates people to take out their credit card and
Mhm.
act, to pick up the phone and call, to make a change in their, and that's my work as an author and a speaker now, right? I'm trying to share the principles of prosperity, and I want to enact change. I want to help people change their results. And to change their results, we have to change the way they're thinking, and we have to change the way they're acting. So I became an expert at that, though I am a guy who was, and I'm exaggerating when I say I'm a high school dropout. I was actually expelled, so
Ah,
there's that.
we should get into that. Maybe it'll connect to this question. I'm not sure. But in terms of like, I understand, and I want to give you credit for what you just said. Being an expert marketer, it actually doesn't make you really good at fully understanding people. It helps. I'm not saying that that piece doesn't help, but truly working on yourself and addressing those demons, noticing that you're projecting too, that is a whole other level of awareness because when we can see ourselves, we can see other people. And I feel like that gives you a whole other level of a niche that makes you the expert that you are at what you do. But it usually comes from those hard places in our lives that we're like, oh, yeah, I got to take accountability because I got to fix that or heal it. So
100%.
I
Yeah,
wanted
for
to
like
ask.
me, I had, 15 years old, I was in jail for armed robbery and burglary because I had
Hmm.
been a teenage alcoholic and drug addict and made a lot of really poor choices. So at a very early age, right, very early age, I had the opportunity to rethink my life and reinvent myself. And I took that. And then I had a lot more because I dealt with the addictions, but I didn't deal with the underlying causes of the addictions, right? As so many of us do. I was treating the symptoms, not the cause, as if we want to go to James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. That's what he talks about. That whole book is based on the premise of why are we treating the symptom instead of addressing the cause, which is what we think, how we think. Uh, so I had a lot of opportunities. As you know, the universe will send you tests, and if you don't pass the test, they will be the universe is happy to send it again.
Right,
And if you
cycles.
if you fail that test again, it's more than happy to have you re-audit the class again and again and again. And in my particular case, yeah, I had a lot of that, and it finally took having my business seized by the IRS and auctioned off at the courthouse when I was 30 years old and being $55,000 in debt, which might as well be 55 million today, right? With my consciousness then and earning ability and my consciousness now and earning ability now. So, but there I was, I'm selling all my furniture, sleeping on the floor. And I just realized, okay, so I've had like 11 negative dysfunctional relationships in a row. I've had a numerous health challenges, one after the other. And I keep having these business failures, one after the other. And I kept finding the causes for all of these bad things that were happening to me, the innocent victim, bystander. But
Right, of
when,
course.
but after all of those, I have to ask myself the question, okay, is there one person who was always at the scene of the crime?
Mm,
And of course, I did not like the answer that I got to that question, but that's where the breakthroughs live, right? As you say, when we get up to 30,000 feet and have the self-awareness to question the premise. And by question the premise, in this case, I mean the core foundational beliefs you have about life.
mhm. Well, I think that getting over the victim mentality, one, addressing it because it has to be accepted that the victim mentality is there, but then recovering from it. On the other end, a lot of people don't realize you're not done. You might be half done, but the rest of the battle is accepting that you're also hurting other people. So we play victim and then we play abuser because we want to lash out by still that's still a victim mentality thinking that it's okay to hurt people or lash out. That's where our projections come from. So a lot of owning your life and being fulfilled in all these different areas, it's a huge mindset shift to say you are 100% control of your entire life. If it's not going your way, there's something you have to change within you.
That's really why those entrepreneurs come to me,
Yeah.
is that's like the dirty little secret. And you know what? I'm really knowledgeable about AI, for instance, and I employ it tremendously in my business to make myself incredibly. I'm the most productive person you've ever met, unless you've met Elon. Okay, but if you haven't met Elon, I guarantee you I'm the most productive person you met. I'm brilliant with copywriting. I'm great with strategic stuff. So I think I have a pocket of genius. I wrote a book about this called Mad Genius, how we all have genius in different areas, I believe. And my genius in marketing and strategic business, scaling businesses, that is really strong. But really, most of the people who I'm working with, that's not where the breakthroughs are coming. The breakthroughs are coming from those personal areas that you just talked about. They say, okay, let's recognize this victimhood scenario that you're in right now and how you're responding to that. Because all the victimhood makes you feel warm and fuzzy because
Right.
you're surrounded by other victims and you can all get together and commiserate and you had the power turned off. Yeah, let me tell you about me. My landlord is evicting me. I got a 2-day
Yep.
sheriff notice on the door. And then, somebody else, yeah, but what about I just talked to my doctor and I got a malignant tumor and I have 3 weeks to live.
Yep.
And then
All
you're
negative.
like, damn, they have a better tragedy than I do. I need to go manifest an even worse tragedy than their 3-week malignant tumor so that the next time we get together, I'm the ultimate victim here. And it's such a perpetuating cycle of victimhood.
Right.
It's just absolutely batshit crazy, but
Mhm.
many of us do it. And I did it for 30 years. So that's why I'm the world's preeminent expert on victimhood behavior because I was a professional victim for so many years. So that's what, the stuff when you finally get the self-awareness, then you can take the personal responsibility and you can make the changes. Because this new book that I just sent to the editor, there's a chapter, something to the title of, you know, great, you own the Bugatti now, but you're still thinking like a Toyota owner.
Mm. Yep.
And it's about how we have to dial it up to a higher level of thinking as we manifest those higher levels of prosperity.
Absolutely. Or if you want the Bugatti and you got a Toyota, you have to work on you to make sure that you can bring that in or keep it if it shows up.
That's really the premise of that chapter.
Right. Beautiful.
You
Uh,
could have written, I could have outsourced that chapter to you and saved myself some time.
it's cool. Next time we'll just collaborate on a book. It'll be great. But, Randy, I really appreciate your valuable time today and the wealth of knowledge that you provide. We are going to have to hop off, but I would really love to know if there was the number one thing that you see that holds people back right now in your work, what would that be?
I'll give you an answer that will absolutely shock you, and nobody watching this is going to believe me, but I believe it with every fiber of my being.
Don't tell me it's ourselves.
That number one thing holding you back from your next breakthrough for 99% of the people watching right now is their interactions with social media
Ooh,
and mainstream media. That
like
they are
that.
getting so much negative programming, so many
Mhm.
anti-prosperity memes, so many victimhood memes, so many negative expectation memes,
Yeah.
um, that it's just mind-boggling. I think it's the existential danger to our society right now that I think we know. No kid under 16 should be allowed on a social media platform. I don't think a kid under 12 should even have an electronic device like a tablet or a smartphone. And I think there's a lot of 40, 50, 60-year-old people who think they're immune to it, who
Mhm.
think they recognize the programming, who think they're independent actors, and they have no idea they are just a puppet in the real world equivalent of the Matrix.
I'm so grateful that you said that. And just for an example of what this looks like, because we are what we consume, right? Whether it be social media, the videos, the music, the TV, whatever, right? I was sitting on the couch the other day and I turned on a show and I was in a great mood. It was an amazing day. And the show that I watched, it was negative, and there was a woman who was trying to speak her truth and stand in her power, and all the men around her were negative. They were trying to suppress her. It was a historical era drama, right? Like that kind of show. And I turned it off and I was irritated. And I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out, I was getting ready for bed and, doing my normal nighttime routine. And I'm like, why am I irritated? Nothing. And then I'm like, wait a second. No, you did actually experience something that it just wasn't yours. And so I cleared my energy and I did my normal affirmations before bed and, all that stuff. But I had to recognize, one, that I experienced it, and two, that it wasn't mine. It was something that I experienced
Uh-huh.
externally. I just ingested it. So we don't have to keep that, but it takes a conscious individual to say, well, maybe I should limit TV. Maybe I shouldn't read those books or get off that social platform.
And if you're a TV producer, if you own X, Facebook, Snapchat, Insta, whatever, you're saying, okay, how can I get Jacqueline scared? How
Mm,
can I get her outraged?
yep,
How can I get her fearful and outraged? Because then I can sell her eyeballs. And
absolutely.
they are you a psychiatrist, psychologist? What's your,
Actually, I'm a little bit of a lot of them. I'm a licensed therapist, but I'm also a naturopathic doctor. And so my specialty is the mind-body connection.
okay. So you have, you've done some professional education in this area. So you would go on Facebook and say, well, I know how this shit works. I mean, this is what I do for a living. But no, because you're up against hundreds
Mhm.
of PhD psychiatrists and psychologists who've been hired by Meta
Yeah.
to put people in rooms, put them in front of a computer, put diodes all over their brain and monitor their breathing and their blood pressure and their heart rate on everything and track where their eyeballs go on the screen and then feed all this data into artificial intelligence, which can calculate billions and billions of bytes of data a microsecond
Mhm.
and say, how do we keep Jacqueline outraged? And
Right.
you can't compete with that. No matter how IQ your high how high an IQ you have, and I can't compete with that. And the only way is to say, I'm going to mindfully, like I took those apps off my smartphone.
Yeah, me
So I
too.
can't check them anytime. I
Yep.
can go to them I have the accounts because I'm an author. If I wasn't an author, I wouldn't even have those accounts, honestly. But so I can go and I can post my new blog or my new podcast or whatever, and I can connect with my tribe. But I will be on for 10 minutes as a content creator, not a consumer.
Right. For
Because if
sure.
I click that one link that just gets me because they know exactly how to trigger me, and
Yeah.
then I spend 25 minutes on there instead of the 1 minute I thought I was going to spend, I am such a worse person after that 25 minutes. My level of thinking is so much lower. My level of victimhood and outrage is so much higher.
Yep.
And so that's why I had the answer to that question that I did.
Well, that brings the whole conversation to a full circle, because if you are a consumer, you're spending money, time, and energy, your focus. If it's not on something that you've created, you're giving to it, right? So we have to be conscious,
100%. And that's what it's designed to do. We're going to
right?
get you to buy things you don't need.
Right. And it works because they know,
And it works.
right? So the name of the show is something along the lines of get off social media, own your own life. You can, play the money game well.
All
I
right.
really appreciate your time, Randy. Thank you so much.
All right. And remember, everyone, randygage.com, download that free PDF, Seven Elements of an Abundant Life.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Mhm.